Let's go to work. Let's go to work. Let's go to work.
What happened? We taking this. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3. Win.
At MetLife Stadium, Jets quarterback Sam Darnold, defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, and kicker Sergio Castillo all arriving for duty on a beautiful December morning. Sergio, in fact, looks like he is ready for Las Vegas in a hand of blackjack with that hat. You are looking live right now at MetLife Stadium. It's Jets, Raiders, and December football. It's going to be a cold one, so hopefully John Gruden and the Raiders are ready for that after playing inside a dome last week in Atlanta and losing a one-sided affair for the Jets. You know the story. They enter December as the National Football League's only winless team. With that being said, let's bring in both Anthony Becht and, of course, Eric Coleman. I'm running the one-back set inside the BetMGM studio, but these guys active as always. Hey, fellas, I got to start out here. Eric, what did you think about Sergio's hat?
Oh, Sergio look player. You know what I mean? You got to add a little style to it. You know, it's the wintertime, so that's the time you add the flavor to it. I appreciate the style and appreciate him for jumping out there on that.
Love it. Anthony, the guy who we saw first arriving at MetLife Stadium was Jets quarterback Sam Darnold, and that is where our storylines begin. Most of the week, of course, was focused on the Jets' third-year signal caller. Do you expect a better game from Darnold in his second game back after a return to action after dealing with that shoulder injury?
Yeah, I would have to predict that it will be a better game. You know, he got, 4 games. He was out. I was expecting him to bounce back pretty quickly. And, let's be honest, he was a little rusty still. That was a big part of that game last week. He wasn't on point in a lot of his passes, maybe, just trying to push it a little too much, made a couple poor decisions. I expect him to play better. Look, Sam, as really all the other players in this football team are really on a tryout situation for their playing lives. I mean, every player's in the same boat. This is a situation this year where everybody has to prove their value. And I think with Fant back this week, your offensive line is pretty much intact outside of Lewis. And then you have your weapons, your running game with Frank Gore had a nice game last week. If they can have a complimentary game versus a team that hasn't rushed the quarterback that well, I think he could come off and have a good performance today and bounce back and maybe put themselves in a situation to be in the game in the fourth quarter.
You are watching Pregame Central presented by Pepsi. It is Jets Raiders at MetLife Stadium, and we're watching the green and white warm up right now. Eric, what did you think of the following comments from head coach Adam Gase this week? I came here to help him develop his career, and we haven't been able to do that. Adam Gase in reference to Sam Darnold.
I thought it was pretty honest. It was a fair assessment of what he's done so far. He came here to develop a young quarterback who had a ton of potential, who has a ton of potential and has a lot of talent. And, they haven't hit the mark yet. Sam Darnold is supposed to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league at this point in his career. And Adam Gase and he and the rest of this team have not put those pieces in place. They haven't been able to adjust and get Sam to that level. I think there's still opportunity for it. But, as far as his evaluation, year 3, I think they've all fallen short of what they want.
Anthony, how do you keep the noise on the outside if you are Sam Darnold right now? This fan base is already looking ahead to the 2021 draft and all the draft capital, and there's a lot of attention focused on the quarterbacks, as we all know, and Sam Darnold is aware of that. You'd be sleeping under a rock not to be aware of that. But for him, these final 5 games, how can he keep it basically where he puts a force field around himself and he just goes out and plays ball?
I kind of like the outside pressures. I think when I played and Parcells was the general manager, there was always some chatter in my ear. There was always something he was, trying to, pick or prod in my game and really try to elevate me or see if I would sink. I think, when you play in New York and you have the media and the fan base, the fan base isn't in the stands, so that's helpful for him because it doesn't have to hear it. But as far as his performance is concerned, look, Sam's got to play good regardless because, for whatever happens for him, whether he's the long-term answer or he's not, he still has to go out there, do his job at a high level, and get better and improve and really, show that he is the quarterback that we've seen bits and pieces of throughout his career. We need to see him put together a 4-quarter game. We need to see his accuracy get dialed in. We need to see him utilize his legs, be a complete quarterback. And honestly, when you're on the field, put the concerns to the side. Yeah, you hear it, but when you get in between those hatches, just play ball. I want him to have fun. I want him to go out there and sling it, not have any regrets, and go try to make plays. I think I'm waiting for him to take that next step, and hopefully he does that today.
Yeah, I love that attitude right there. And I think Sam had the proper mindset this week, Eric, when he said you can't control the past when asked about not having a touchdown pass in each of the past 4 games he's played in. He said you can only control the present and what you do in the future. Of course, so far this season, guys, Sam Darnold 0-7 as a starter, completing just a nip less than 59% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, and the 8 interceptions. Against Miami, 59% passer, had the 2 interceptions. Eric, what did you think about those comments from Sam?
Well, I thought they were very truthful as well. And that's something I was going to say when Anthony was commenting. How about Sam? Go out there, just worry about what you can control. And that's what I like about Sam Darnold. He has a great mindset. He prepares, and puts in the work. He has a great attitude, a great perspective on the game and on life. So, I think this kid has a very bright future, and I'm excited to see what he does. I think that his best days are definitely ahead of him. I think he can put together a good game today, connect with his receivers early, gain that confidence, and just continue to grow. Remember, last week was his first time having all 3 starting receivers in the lineup at the same time. So there's still room to grow. I think that he's going to get better, and the future is bright for Sam.
A special Sunday throughout the National Football League. My Cause, My Cleats. You're going to see a lot of different designs on the players' cleats this week as they are displaying the causes that they support, the numerous charitable organizations. And Anthony, can you touch on that a little bit? I think that kind of goes under the radar. Yeah, these guys are gladiators on Sundays. They go out and their job is to win and put a good product on the field. But I'll tell you what, there are a lot of guys in this league and in this organization specifically who go out and make a difference in the community.
Yeah, listen, it's never highlighted enough in the media. It's either a negative story or some type of conflict within the building. Listen, there's 90% plus guys every week, Tuesdays, on their off days, doing things throughout the community. I can't even tell you, Eric will speak for the same thing, as many things as we've done that just went under the radar. And I think, listen, guys like to do things. They don't want to get it publicized. That's great. But in the same token, it's just a commitment to just being an all-around great person. And I think there's a ton of those guys in the league. And I wish they'd come for the forefront more. The Jets do an excellent job of highlighting their players and social media and the things that they're doing and putting stories together. And more teams are doing that. But from a national standpoint, it doesn't sell newspapers. It doesn't, get the clicks. And that's an issue. But there's a ton of guys doing it, and I think it's awesome.
Eric, what would you say about that? Unfortunately, we live in an era, at a time where the knuckleheads grab the headlines and they get the news and they get the clicks. But I'll tell you what, we got to start highlighting what people do positively more. In the NFL and the Jets have a lot of good people.
Absolutely. There's a ton of guys putting in a ton of work and helping those less fortunate than them. Spending your day off, spending your Tuesday, going to help out some kids or help an organization that needs a cause. And it's wonderful because NFL players have such a huge platform, and to be able to wear those cleats and to showcase the organizations that you're working with, the causes that you stand for is a beautiful thing. A lot of people are going to understand about some organizations they didn't know about. I didn't know, a certain player was tied to this, or why is he tied to this? And it's great. I think the NFL is doing a great job with it, and the players love it as well. They get to wear some different kicks, represent, one of the causes, and shed some light on some other people.
Love it. Great story. You guys can continue to watch that during the game. Jets Raiders, 1 o'clock, MetLife Stadium. Anthony, last year against the Raiders, this seems like 10, 15 years ago now. But last November, the Raiders came to the East Coast and played the New York Jets. They lost 34-3. Sam Darnold passed for 315 yards accounted for 3 touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. He ran for 1. That was one of his finest professional efforts. We know that is a long time ago now, but if you're the Jets, what do you think you're going to get out of this Raiders team? Because like I mentioned, a lot of similarities between what happened last week in Atlanta for the Raiders, who were 6-4 at the time before they lost to the Falcons 43-6, and last year's Raiders team, who came to MetLife in November, were 6-4, lost, and then they never really regained that playoff positioning. What do you expect out of this Raiders team today?
Well, listen, you're right. They laid an egg going on the road to Atlanta. They had a tough game, which I thought they played an outstanding game versus the Chiefs the week before. And listen, they had just beat the Chargers and the Broncos prior to that. They were on a 3-game win streak. They go in and they play the Chiefs as good as really you can play them, and weren't able to win that game. And it showed the next week. I mean, 5 turnovers. Derek Carr had a pick 6, 3 fumbles. Jake fumbled. And they're going to have a lot of different faces out there playing for them. It's nice to see other teams going through some of the ups and downs the Jets have gone through from an injury standpoint, with some of their best players not playing in this football game. So I will say this: Coach Gruden will have this team prepared and ready to go. I almost can certainly tell you that it was not a pleasant week at practice, and these guys are anxious to get on the field. And regardless of who's playing, and play much better. I think it starts up front for them. The defense for the Jets is going to have to be very active in this game. I think it's going to be a great matchup. Rodney Hudson is probably arguably the best center in the NFL, going against Quentin Williams. I played with Rodney in Kansas City his rookie year, and it's now he's an old man veteran doing a great job for them up front. So it'll be interesting to see those matchups. And Derek Carr played his worst game, literally, probably in 2 years. And it didn't look good. And they're going to have to come back and do something positive. I think they may have caught, unfortunately, the Jets caught them on a week where, you're coming off that kind of game. They're going to be dialed in. But listen, if you're the Jets, okay, you want that, because you got to play these teams at their best. They'll get their best effort today, and it'll be an opportunity for the Jets to go out there and try to accomplish a W.
Hey, Eric, the Jets have dealt with a number of injuries this year, and we talked about it throughout the season. But they're facing a Raiders team that is missing one of their top offensive players in Josh Jacobs, dealing with a sprained ankle. He's out of the lineup. Last year, the Jets were able to really put a lid on that Raiders rush game. Jacobs was held at 34 yards. He's not in the lineup. It's Devonta Booker today. And then on the other side of the ball, one of their finest defensive players is Jonathan Abram. He's out of the lineup as well. So I think, well, from a pure lineup perspective, the Jets are catching somewhat of a break on the injury front.
Absolutely. And anytime that Josh Jacobs isn't playing, he's one of the league's top rushers. He's physical, does a great job after contact, and really running the ball well this year. And anytime you take a guy like that out of the lineup, it's an advantage for your defense. And then on the other side, Jonathan Abrams, he's been quite the enforcer this year. He comes downhill, he covers well. He really is one of their emotional leaders on defense. And without him, that's another guy that another Pro Bowler that's missing out the lineup. So, if the Jets want to capitalize, you go at the defensive backs. You go at, you try to stop that run and try to fill those voids that the Raiders are losing in those players.
All right, we're going to get to plenty of that in our monster matchups coming up. You're watching Pregame Central, presented by Pepsi. Eric and Allen inside the BetMGM studio. As always, though, our own Olivia Landis caught up with someone who has intimate knowledge of the Jets' upcoming opponent, and in this case, JT the Brick. So why don't we check this out from the latest, this is the latest installment from the broadcast booth.
JT, the Jets are a team that are still searching for their first win. They're 0-11 on the season, and now they match up against the Raiders this week. Raiders coming off of a tough loss versus the Falcons. What can you say about this Raiders team heading into this matchup after coming off a tough loss like that?
Well, the Raiders aren't in a good spot right now at all. The Raiders had a really bad performance, one of their worst performances since the Jet game last year, where they went in to play the Jets with a 6-4 record, the whole playoffs on the line, and they got beat badly at MetLife, and then down the stretch they went 1-5 and missed the playoffs. So a lot of Raider fans were counting on back-to-back wins. against Atlanta and against the Jets. And the Raiders lose that game 43-6. They weren't competitive. It was their worst performance. No one played well. Atlanta didn't have Julio Jones and Todd Gurley. This is a much bigger game than it was on the schedule 4, 5, 10, 20 days ago when the schedule even came out. The Raiders are in a must-win scenario.
JT, it sounds like it is, like you said, a very high-pressure situation. But speaking of pressure, let's talk a little bit about quarterback Derek Carr. He's thrown 19 touchdowns, 4 interceptions so far, having a pretty solid season. How much of this Raiders win depends on him having a solid performance?
He's got to play great. It's a great question. Carr's having an unbelievable year. I would think it's borderline Pro Bowl right there. Pro Bowl, not MVP, not with Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, but in that next window of other quarterbacks. The problem for Carr is Derek's coming off a really bad game where his offensive line for the first time this season didn't protect him. And that was shocking because the Raiders don't have the most expensive right tackle in football in Trent Brown. Richie Incognito, the former Pro Bowl left guard's gone for the year. So this offensive line's been hurt all year. And it was the first time even their backups got bullied, because the key to the Raiders this year is they've been the bully. They beat New Orleans at home. They've had the toughest schedule the first 5 games. They're pushing teams around. You'll get the best effort from the Raiders all year because they are desperate and they have to win this game.
JT, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
You are watching Pregame Central presented by Pepsi. Eric Allen inside the BetMGM studio over at MetLife Stadium. The Jets and the Raiders getting ready for the Green and White's 12th game of the season. Of course, the only winless team in the National Football League, working real hard to finally get that elusive victory. We'll have to see if that is today. Hey, fellas, before we get to our monster matchups, what did you think about that analysis right there from JT? The Brick E said you're going to get the best Raiders effort.
I agree. You know, a team like this, who is in the playoff hunt, who has a lot of pride and spend a lot of money on some good players, you know, they're not meant to go out there and lay eggs against Atlanta Falcons team. You know, I believe John Gruden was probably hot last night. Last week, I would have paid money to be inside the locker room or the film breakdown session of the Las Vegas Raiders last week. But they're going to be fired up. They're going to be ready to go today. The Jets are going to get their best effort. And, you know, if you're the Jets, I want that challenge. I want you at your best because we're going to be at our best. And if they play well, they execute, then everything will handle itself.
Anthony, I don't see a path for the Raiders to make the playoffs unless they win this game today.
There's no doubt. I mean, listen, anytime in my career that we got thumped, the week before, there was a little more focus in the next week. I mean, regardless of your record, nobody wants to go out like that. And they got to go through all the same barriers they went through last week. They got to travel across the country. They got to go through the hassles of the timing and the situation. So they're going to have to get dialed in. You know, like Eric said, those are the weeks where teams are most focused. And this will be a good challenge. I mean, look, the Jets don't have it easy any week. I mean, you think, okay, you're playing the Raiders and, there's players down. But you just like the Falcons play without Julio Jones and a few other players, they were still able to go out there and play a great game. But it only happened because of 5 turnovers. So there's an opportunity there where there's some things on film where you build on that. Can you do the same thing or duplicate some of those things the Falcons did? It's a copycat league. Some of the blitz packages, some of the coverages, those are things. I know Gruden does those things. He'll watch last week's film of the Jets' opponent, and anything that worked well, he's going to pull those things and utilize some of those things and wrinkles that are similar because, that's just the way it is. Can you prepare for a team and also, even though you're preparing for that team, correct your mistakes from before? Because if you don't, they could get you back on them same type of style plays.
Speaking of mistakes, you're right. Turnovers killed the Raiders last week, but so did penalties, fellas. 11 penalties over 100 yards. Marked off against them. You can't win in this league if you do that. You would anticipate John Gruden will have this bunch ready to go, even though it is a banged-up club. Let's get to our monster matchups and start with Eric.
My monster matchup this week is Neville Hewitt versus Devonta Booker in the Las Vegas Raiders running game. The Raiders are heavily committed to the run. They love running the football. It's what makes that offense go. And if Neville Hewitt and company can have a great game, then the Jets will be successful.
Neville Hewitt and Harvey Longy have been a very good pair defensively. And Anthony mentioned before Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams was playing at a Pro Bowl level. He's bringing the interior pressure. And that matchup with Rodney Hudson, you got to focus on that. I know everybody's watching the ball all the time, but that is one to watch. And those guys have been filling up very good behind Quinnen Williams. Lorenzo Fatukasi's played very well for the New York Jets on the interior too. And this team continues to be a tough team to run against. Anthony, where are you going?
Well, I got to go with the tight end position, Darren Wall versus Marcus May. I mean, listen, this is this probably the second best tight end in the NFL right now behind Travis Kelce. That's saying a lot. This is a kid that has come out of the ranks of nowhere. He came through and battled some issues throughout his career, and the Raiders gave him a chance to shine, and they rewarded him with a huge contract. And he is a favorite target of Carr. And the problem with him is, he's a split out guy. He can go against corners. He can go against linebackers and safeties. He wants to go against linebackers and safeties and corner. He's got speed. He's got the ability to run receiver routes. He can go get the ball in traffic, and he's a very aggressive runner. This is one of the biggest matchups for Marcus May and company, probably all season long. There's a lot of film to study on this guy, how to shut him down. I haven't seen many teams shut him down. The only time I've seen him shut down is when they don't get him the football. So I promise you he's going to be a big target in this game, and it's going to be a challenge for probably Marcus May throughout the game, and then the rest of the guys that have to, dial in across the lower levels of the field, linebackers and potentially corners when he splits out.
Before I reveal my matchup, let's just stay on that topic right now. Go to our safety, Eric Coleman. How do you go about defending Waller? He's 6'6", but it's almost like he has a wide receiver skill set, and he is definitely Derek Carr's top target.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's a tough matchup. He's 6'6". He can run routes. He's physical as well, and he has that reach. I know, as a safety, it's always tough. I'm 5'11". I don't have the reach. He can box me out. So, as a safety, you want to get physical with him. You want to stay on his inside hip or stay on his outside hip, depending on the coverage that you're in, and try to jump underneath some routes. Try to distract him early. Try to throw off the timing of his routes, because if you can throw off the timing, your pass rush gets there, then you give yourself a chance. But, it's a tough task. It's going to take a group effort to defend such a big tight end and such a physical and well-skilled tight end.
Fellas, the Jets need points today. This is a Raiders defense that is giving up 29 points a game. Interestingly enough, the Jets defensively are giving up 29.3 points a game. I got to go offensively. The Jets scored 3 points last week, but these two on the outside continue to pay dividends. Brashad Perriman really coming on. Denzel Mims, a rookie who has been such an impressive performer. They're going against a young Raiders cornerback duo. So I'm very interested to see what happens on the outside. Every game that Mims has lined up so far in, he's had at least 40 yards receiving. I think one of these games he's going to reach the century mark. And every time we see Brashad Perriman, he is running by people. This Raiders secondary is going to be without Jonathan Abram, who continues to be one of their standout performers on the defensive side of the ball. So listen, Brashad Perriman has averaged 18.1 yards per reception, guys, since 2018. The second best average in the league over that span among receivers with at least 50 receptions. Mims is just the 7th receiver in the National Football League since 2000 to start his career with 5 consecutive games of 40-plus yards, and he's averaging 16.7 yards per reception. These guys can get the chunk gainers for you. Explosion plays in the passing game. The Jets, it was hit and miss for them offensively last week, but there were flashes. So that is definitely my matchup to watch. What is going to happen on the outside for the Jets? Because last week they played an elite cornerback tandem. Yes, The Raiders do have talent on the outside, but this is not the Miami Dolphins defensive backfield. There's no doubt about that. Okay, the show rolls on. For more on today's matchup, let's get to Jets head coach Adam Gase.
What do you make of Derek Carr and the challenge ahead for your defense? Carr, you look at his numbers this year, Adam. He's been really impressive, completing nearly 70% of his passes. I think he's only got like 4 interceptions. Where he has struggled at times is he's fumbled the ball, and we saw that last week with the Raiders against Atlanta. They turned the football over way too much.
He's playing with a chip on his shoulder. Sometimes when quarterbacks are from the ball, they're probably holding on to the ball a little longer. I know everybody kind of got on him, over the last like 4 or 5 years of, hey, just gets the ball out, quick game, all that stuff. And he's probably might have listened too much to it and he's holding on to the ball and trying to push it down the field. But I get it with the speed he's got and the guys that he, are creating big plays with. I mean, that's another reason why he's probably doing it as well. But
on CBS 2 at 11:30 a.m. and we're watching Ethan Greenberg right now. You also can check out this show on NewYorkJets.com and Jets app, of course. Adam Gase Show follows us in about 5 minutes on CBS 2 here locally in New York. But Ethan is typically at MetLife Stadium by now, but he came in early, taking care of some other work. So let's throw it over to him. He's on the other side of the studio for another installment of All In or Not Today.
Yeah, I'm back in the saddle here at the BetMGM studio. They kicked me out of my living room in the Commissioners Club. Anthony, let's start with you, as always. So you guys were talking about Sam Darnold's performance this season, and EA mentioned his performance last year against the Raiders. Well, how about this, Anthony Becht? All in or not today, Sam Darnold will set a new season high in passing yards, and he'll throw his first touchdown pass in 5 games.
I'm all in. He has to. This is crucially important. I mean, Gore's been a nice balance of the running game. He's got all his weapons intact. His line is there. He's got to take those next steps in this game. He has to have his best performance in this football game. He had a week back last week, another full week of practice. We have to see big jump from him. So, yeah, I'm all in on this one.
All right, I love it. I think Jets fans love it too. Eric Coleman, you hit yours on the head last week. We asked you, would the Jets force 2 takeaways? They did, in fact. So I'm going to ask you the same question with a bit of a twist. So Eric Coleman, all in or not today, the Jets will force at least 2 turnovers, and they will hold the Las Vegas Raiders to under 70 rushing yards.
Oh, I'm all in on that. I think the Jets, between the defensive line, Quinnen Williams getting pressure on Derek Carr, and on the back end, doing a great job of creating turnovers and getting to the ball, the Jets will definitely forced 2 turnovers today. And then with Neville, Hewitt, and Harvey Longy, they're doing such a great job with the run up front. No Josh Jacobs this week. Yep. So I think that the Jets will definitely have an opportunity to hold the Raiders under 70 yards, and it's going to be a successful night for the Jets defense.
All right, well, last week, Eric Coleman spoke it into existence. We'll see if you'll go 2 for 2 in as many weeks. And EA, a lot lies on you right now. You could be the 3rd all in, or you could be the 1 not today. So with that being said, all in or not today, Jamison Crowder, Sam Darnold's favorite target, will have more receptions than Derek Carr's favorite target, Darren Waller.
All in. Make it 3 for 3, Greens. Jamison Crowder, he's been doubled many times. He's seen 3 bodies around him. Sam Darnold's favorite receiver. Now he's getting in good rhythm with both Perryman and Mims, as I mentioned before. I think the Jets know they have to focus on Waller. They got to have somebody else beat them, that young secondary for the New York Jets. I think Jamison Crowder is ready for a big game this afternoon.
All right, we got 3 all in. I love it. BetMGM, the official gaming partner of the New York Jets, is bringing fans a free New York Jets weekly pick'em contest. To enter, just sign up, make predictions on how this week's game will play out. You can download the Jets app today for a chance to win an MGM Resorts trip package and free bets at BetMGM Sports. Play free for every week. You must be 21 years or older. Restrictions do apply. Visit BetMGM.com for a full list of terms and conditions. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's move on to Fearless Predictions. I'll kick things off. Then we'll hear from Anthony Becht, Eric Coleman, and then EA will take us home. So I said this a couple weeks ago, and I'm doubling down, but I feel like it's okay because Chris Herndon has been Anthony Beck's fearless prediction, on and off throughout the course of the season. So I'm going to say that the Jets are going to run some kind of trick play. We're late in the year. The Jets are searching for their first victory of the season. I think the Jets have something up their sleeve today, and that's what I'm going with my fearless prediction, Anthony. What do you think about that?
I like it. Yeah, nothing to lose there. Mix it up. Keep the Raiders on their heels. That would be an important part of the game plan if I was, setting that up. I'm going to go with Mims. Listen, he's going to get his first touchdown catch of his young career. He's going to get his Hondo for the first time in his young career. I mean, listen, if you're a coach and you're talking to Sam throughout the week and you're watching film, you're thinking, okay, this kid's ready to take the next step. And I think, Mims wants to take the next step. So he's one of only a few receivers. He's got a 20-yard plus catch in every one of his games that he's played in. It's great to see. I'm excited for him. And, maybe this is the week he gets the Hondo and a touchdown.
I like it, Anthony. And Denzel Mims getting 100 yards receiving, somebody has to deliver it to him. I'm going to go with Sam Darnold for my fearless prediction. He's going to have his first game of the season, over 300 yards. It's going to be a great night in the air. The Jets are going to air it out. Like you said, they have nothing to lose. Sam has to have a big performance today. He's going to throw for 300 yards.
You said the Jets are going to air it out. Well, so are the Las Vegas Raiders. Both these teams are going to air it out. This is going to be an old classic AFL shootout. I see both teams scoring at least 25 points. I mentioned before, fellas, that the Raiders give up 29 points a game. The Jets give up 29 points a game. Playing with a lot of young guys in this secondary. I think Sam Darnold's going to get on rhythm. I think Derek Carr probably will have a pretty good day himself. Let's get to the inactives now here from MetLife Stadium that were just announced. That's quarterback James Morgan, wide receiver Vincent Smith, and a pair of offensive linemen down there below, Jimmy Murray and Cameron Clark. Remember, the Adam Gase Show is airing now on CBS 2. You can watch that and get some more Jets Raiders preview. Thanks to Olivia, Ethan, JT the Brick, Eric Coleman, and of course, Anthony Beck as well. We will be back from the BetMGM studio 1 hour after the final whistle. It is Jets Raiders. It is December football. Are you feeling lucky? Vegas might bring out the best in the Jets today.